Now to some breaking news out of Chicago. That's where we're getting reports of protesters clashing with federal immigration law enforcement officials. This video from our NBC station in Chicago showing what appears to be armed agents, many of whom are wearing gas masks, confronting a large crowd in Chicago's East Side neighborhood.
To your own people, man. To your own people. To your own people. This is happening to your own people. To your own people, man. To your own people.
What's going on, everybody? Thank you all for joining me today. If you haven't already, please make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel, and most importantly, please make sure that you are following me on Telegram at TD Media Group to help circumvent social media censorship and shadow banning. With the introduction out of the way, let's get into today's news. And today, yes, we are headed back to the People's Republic of Chicago. Why is that? Because Chicago is a mess, ladies and gentlemen. The People's Republic of Chicago is completely upside down because DNC lunatic politicians like Emperor Brandon Johnson and Governor Fred Flintstone refused to get their people in check. So if you're not getting your DNC lunatic constituents in check, chaos will continue to unravel and be the norm in the city as we're getting ready to get into. But before we do that, I want to start here first. This is a quick video clip from Waukegan, Illinois. And I just want you to understand and recognize the disrespect that's being shown here. We don't even need to play like the kind of volume on here. You can just see it. But I believe this was yesterday in a suburb of Chicago, right? Chicago suburb, Waukegan, Illinois, right? In Waukegan, Illinois, you had this march against ICE, in which, once again, nothing but foreign flags being waved. In any other country, this will be considered an invasion. And in any other country, this will be considered extreme disrespect. What do you think would happen to you if a bunch of Americans flooded Mexico illegally, and on top of that, started marching in the streets of Mexico, waving American flags like what you're seeing right now? I don't even have to answer that question. You all know what would happen. These people do not want to live in the country of the flag that they're waving, yet disrespect the country that they're in, that took them in, demanding to stay here. How is it possible that one can be this unbelievably disrespectful? That's what I really want to focus on, and what I really want to be centered around this discussion is how disrespectful these folks are and how emboldened they are through the disrespect that their politicians continue to engage in as well, right? Because once again, this is extremely disrespectful. You know, if you were serious, they would all have American flags, because they would be demanding, hey, we're Americans too, and we demand to be treated like Americans. Instead, they're spitting in your face. They're spitting in the face of America by waving foreign flags. But now let's get into what I really wanted to talk about. Chaos broke out, I believe it was on the east side of Chicago. Give me a moment while I pull this article up for you guys. So look at this here as the article title reads, Federal agents involved in chase before East Side crash. Residents say crowd tear gas in the area, right? They had to tear gas the crowd. Why? Because, of course, after this crash occurred, the people in the area started to act like animals. They couldn't just peacefully protest, even though in that moment, what are you protesting? A crash has happened. We don't know who's hurt. We don't know what's going on, but everybody decides in the neighborhood to protest. And of course it gets violent because they don't know how to be any other way other than violent, right? Look at this here. A chase involving federal agents led to a crash Tuesday afternoon in Chicago's East Side, a neighborhood resident said. After the crash, a crowd gathered around the agents on the scene. Chopper 7 was over the scene at 12:10 p.m., and there was a large number of Chicago police squad cars and Border Patrol agents on the scene. A neighborhood resident said a red SUV was being chased by federal agents before a crash in the area. The resident said at least one person was taken into custody. Good. A white SUV and a red SUV were damaged. After the crash, there were a number of unmarked federal vehicles in the middle of an intersection. Bystanders surrounded the agents. Some were holding flags, obviously foreign ones, as you're getting ready to see, and others were holding phones recording. At least two more people were seen being taken into custody about 12:30 p.m. ABC 7 Chicago crews on the ground saw some tear gas deployed after something, possibly eggs, were thrown at agents. Chicago police said they had responded to the crash just after 11:05 a.m. CPD had tried to get between federal agents and the residents gathered to de-escalate, police said, but objects were thrown at the federal agents. Of course, like animals, a large amount of tear gas was then deployed about 12:40 p.m. Let's take a look at this video from, I believe it's ABC 7 as well, to give us a little bit more information on what went down over there on the east side of Chicago. Obviously, it's all nonsense per usual.
Again, when you first got on scene and you were able to talk to some neighbors and some witnesses there on the scene, and describe to us what initially...
Judy, wait one second. Okay. I see Chicago police are arriving and putting themselves in the middle of the situation right now. It appears there might be someone in command, from what I can see, approaching the area. I'm not sure if this is in an attempt to start dispersing the crowd.
Huge foreign flag right there in the center, as usual.
But we have just in the last few seconds seen Chicago police, who had remained at bay, now starting to put themselves in the middle of the, oh God. Protesters are starting to throw rocks. We're going to get away from the scene right now, Judy.
Okay, Michelle, you take care of yourself. I'm going to let her get off the phone. We really appreciate it. Get to a safe place. So what you're watching, what you continue to watch, is exactly what Michelle has been describing. This, again, at the intersection 105th and Avenue N. Last Michelle said is protesters started throwing rocks, and you can see that there is some chemical being deployed right there at this.
I can't stand like some chemical. It's tear gas. It's tear gas. We all know what it is. Okay. It's tear gas, not nerve gas. It's tear gas. They're deploying some chemical in the air. I'm gonna let it play a little bit longer. Let it play a little bit longer. This is so annoying.
Intersection just prior to this, you did see what appeared to be Chicago police officers and some commanders there trying to have some type of a dialogue with the protesters there at the intersection. It would seem that they were trying to disperse the crowd and maybe usher them off the street so that the agents could possibly move their vehicles. And it was at that point that Michelle noticed that protesters started throwing rocks, and this is the end result. Earlier, we had heard that there were pepper balls being sprayed into the crowd because someone had thrown eggs, or some neighbors had thrown something at the agents. And now reports of rocks being thrown, and that was coming from Michelle, a reporter right there on the ground. She has now gotten off the phone with us. They're trying to get to a safer place, of course, but we can continue to watch this picture. Fortunately, with Chopper 7 up in the air, we can still continue to monitor what is happening here. Again, if you are just joining us here.
All these people know how to do, all people know to do is to be violent. That's all they know is violence. As ridiculous as that moment is, there's a crash that occurred. You don't know who's hurt. You don't know what's going on. Do we need ambulance to come through? Like, you really shouldn't be in the street right now. This is extremely ignorant, right? But okay, you're outside. You're protesting, I guess. That's fine. But like always, rocks start getting thrown, objects start getting thrown, and then when the tear gas gets deployed, now all of a sudden you're a victim. Right? And then it doesn't help when you have, news outlets like this talking about some sort of chemical is being let loose into the air. Like, come on with this. This is just ridiculous, man. But this is just the nature of Chicago. When you have aldermen like this is Alderman Vasquez, right? Going back to the disrespect that comes from these people, as well as the DNC lunatics that run the city of Chicago. I want you to listen to Alderman Vasquez completely disrespect the history of Native Americans here in America and try to tie it into illegal immigration. This is the most ridiculous history lesson you will ever hear in your life. Check this out here.
Hey Chicago, it's 40th Ward Alderperson Andre Vasquez. I'm wishing you a happy Indigenous Peoples Day. It's important to think about this day, not only in the context of our city or our nation, but really the whole world. When you think about Indigenous people all across the world, those who have been there, the Indigenous population.
I can't do it. Shut up, bro. This was Columbus Day. This is a holiday that was really unique to United States of America. We changed it to Indigenous People Day because I guess Columbus Day, was offensive. The Indigenous People Day is about Native Americans here in America. That's what it's always been about. It has nothing to do with Indigenous people of the world. I can't stand these idiots, man. I really, it's so difficult to just sit and listen to this stupid stuff. It really is sometimes. Like it's just you. That's why I can't help but to interrupt and interject. I can't listen to this stupidity. Anyways, let it go.
Everywhere, and how imperialists, how colonizers came and forced their way and brutalized their way to kick the people off that were originally there and then take over and then claim that land as theirs. You got to think about the kind of trauma, damage, the horror that inflicts, especially in our current moment as we're watching it across the world and as we're seeing it even in Chicago, where you've got a president of our United States trying to deport people, weaponize this government to kick people out. And some of those people are descendants of the folks who were here originally.
No, they're not. No, they're not. No, they're not. God. Okay, there's maybe about 30 more seconds. I can't listen to this stuff anymore. Let's just move on. We have to move on now. Because the disrespect continues. These people hold nothing sacred. Nothing is sacred. Now, this is a first. Typically, you'll have a black Democrat who will find a way to tie in illegal immigration with chattel slavery and illegal immigration with segregation and Jim Crow. Like that's not uncommon. That's something that I've spoke out against on numerous occasions. So this is the first where we have a Hispanic individual. I believe he's Mexican. Now trying to tie in Native Americans here in America to illegal immigration, which is insane. But now going back to black DNC politicians. This guy here, I can't think of his name at the top. I cannot think of what his name is at the top of my head. But this time he takes it a step further, right? He doesn't try to make a false equivalent in between illegal immigration and chattel slavery in America, segregation. No. You all remember the fence at the Broadview ICE facility that we talked about, where a liberal activist judge, who was a Biden-appointed judge, federal judge that is, ordered that fence be taken down, a fence that's put up to protect the ICE agents from these violent domestic terrorists, so-called protesters that only want to engage in violence when they get up close and personal with ICE agents at that ICE facility. The fence is up to protect them. Democrats want to take it down, but you're going to listen to this Democrat here. Compare that fence that's up to protect those ICE agents. He's going to take it a step further and disrespect world history and compare that fence to the Berlin Wall. Yes, you heard me correctly. Apparently, the fence that's up there to protect ICE, the necessity for that fence to come down is the equivalent of to when Ronald Reagan gave his famous speech where he says, Gorbachev, take down this wall. It's apparently this is the same thing now in 2025. Don't believe me? Look at this here. The new Berlin Wall is up in Chicago.
American president actually ordered an iron fence to be erected in American City. Just as the Berlin Wall did in 1961, this fence stands as a symbol of division This fence is a symbol of dividing families. This fence is a symbol of dividing communities.
This fence was assembled to protect ICE agents from violent lunatics like the people that you represent.
This fence is a symbol of dividing Americans, and this fence is a symbol of denying American constitutional rights. This fence is also a distraction. Let's be clear. This fence is a distraction and a reinforcement of the havoc Trump has wreaked on our nation. We must pull back all of these fences and all of these barriers to the American dream. Mr. Trump, tear down this fence now. Tear it down. Tear down this symbol of division. Tear down this symbol of destruction. Tear it down.
Gorbachev, tear down this wall. Like he must have watched that Ronald Reagan speech in that particular moment when that Ronald Reagan says, Gorbachev, tear down this wall. He must have watched that like 100 times and practiced it over and over again with his face looking exactly how it looks right there. Dumb. I can't stand these people. I cannot. All they do is disrespect. Everything is performative. They hold nothing sacred. I don't know what to say. I mean, I have a lot to say, but like always, like I say, I can't say what I really want to say. I have a lot to say, especially concerning this guy right here. But I'll just leave it at that, man. The madness, the foolishness, the violence, and the disrespect continues in Chicago. So with all that being said, that does it for today's news. I want to thank you guys for joining me today. Please hit the like button on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel. Share this video on your social media platforms. And please do not forget to follow me on Telegram at TD Media Group. The link to my Telegram is in the description box below and pinned in the comment section as well. Thank you all for your time. Until the next video, peace and have a great afternoon.